and welcome to all our viewers. This is a very special moment for everyone here, and it's very exciting. And we are about to launch Parliament, hosted by the New National Party. With me, I have the person who is going to be the minister, the leader of His Majesty's opposition, in the form of Mr. Prince Holder. And Prince, I am so excited for you. I can't wait to hear you this morning because I know that you can be a live wire. But how prepared are you for today's sitting?
Well, thank you so very much, Sister Dubois. I must say it's an excellent occasion to be here this morning. And in terms of preparation, I really have, sought to go as closest to the resolution as possible. So my research and my deliberation this morning and preparation all coincides with the resolution. And it's really one of the resolutions that I believe that I am very much well prepared for, as it being current within the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique.
So I take it that you spent a lot of preparation time getting ready for today. And while you were preparing, did it ever cross your mind that you would like to make politics your future career? Did you think about it at all?
Well, it has always been one of the professions that I do enjoy. I think being able to provide service for any constituency or for a country, it is always of most important. And so I believe it is one of the ventures that I believe in the not too distant future I will take into full consideration.
Yes. And what can viewers really expect from you today?
Well, I think you gave it in the word of being a live wire. I am basically this morning prepared to ensure that the public don't just get the mere live wire production, but they would get information that would assist in the resolution that has been brought forward in this honorable house this morning.
Yes. And for the young people who may be viewing, who may be thinking about getting into a political career, would you say that today's session can be a means of encouraging them and letting them think even harder about that path to take?
Well, that I can give a resounding yes, because I can mention numerous of persons that today sits in our present parliament that have had the experience in youth parliament, right? On either side of government and opposition. As I aforementioned, there are many persons that have started here and have, elevated to that part of the political career. So it does give you that opportunity to be impromptu. I can say this is what really prompted me to be able to be in the position I am at now, in being able to articulate sometimes in conversation the mere fact that, I have started with youth parliament with one by the name of Mrs. Emmeline Pear. That name I can always resound when it comes to youth parliament, because it was way back in 2003 when she saw me as a little student at the St. Mark's Secondary School. So it does give you that opportunity as a young person to elevate and be able to give you that vibe as to what the actual government and opposition have in them as a person. It is also in you once you take up that career in terms of youth parliamentarians.
Okay, and finally, would you say in any way that today's presentation will address some of our current issues and really engage the interests of the viewers that they can see through the eyes of our young people?
I would believe so, and I really want to believe so. And to the viewing public, I must let them know that this is an opportunity that is coming from the voice of young people. This is persons who is going to be tomorrow's future. And so the mere fact that they're being involved in countries' affiliation is of paramount importance. And I believe the voice of the youth should be heard, must be heard. And this morning, we are going to be exhibiting that. You would hear from many other speakers as they speak as it relates to issues that are surrounding not just Grenada on a whole, but young people most specifically.
Thank you so very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Holder.
Thank you.
And like I said before, we're looking very excitedly to what this session will be. And I hope that we all can learn something from our young people. Thank you so much and all the best.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Hello again, everyone. And this time I am sitting here with Honorable Jahim Franklin, representing the parish of St. George. We have some really talented young people here today. And like I mentioned before, we are about to start the youth parliament that is being hosted by the new national party. Now, Jahim, Honorable Jahim, because that's how you would be addressed today. Can you just share with us briefly what the preparation was like for you and what got you interested in being a part of today's session?
Okay, well, thank you. The preparation, I would say for me personally, it wasn't as smooth as it normally goes. Yeah, but I did do my best in terms of putting my speeches together and trying to get them done in a timely manner and making sure that they were speeches of substance and of essence and would really have some key takeaways. What got me interested in youth parliament in general? Well, I would say I like a good argument, a healthy, good argument. I like hearing different points of views and being able to respect that, but also bringing mine across as well in a respectful way and getting others to see different perspectives.
Okay, and as you said that, have you ever taken part in any debates in school or in the community or anything like that?
Debate, I took part in debate once in primary school. I was on the research team in secondary school for debate. And yeah, and then youth parliament.
Okay, so what can the viewers expect from your presentation today?
Well, my speeches tend to be a bit fiery, if I do say so myself. So they can expect that in my presentation, but aside from that, they can expect getting the facts and getting my view on the resolution being put forward today.
Yes, and everybody's talking about that resolution. I can't wait to hear it myself. Now, what encouragement can you give to young people who may be looking on today and having thoughts about and engaging in parliamentary processes or even becoming a parliamentarian or being involved in the political field in some way? What encouragement can you give to them? Do you think it's something worthwhile? Do you think it's something that's healthy for them?
I mean, well, to think if it's something that's healthy for them, that's something that only that person or that individual would know, because not everything is for everyone. But I would say that if it is your desire and if it is your passion, then by all means do so. Never look at your age or your circumstances and let that restrict or limit you. If you want to and that's your desire, the sky is the limit.
All right, and finally, this session is not yet happening, but did you ever think about what do you want to come away with after today's sitting?
Not exactly, but what I'm hoping for is that we hear all sides of the argument and really at the end of it come to like a general consensus as to, is this really what we should do?
Okay, and that was wonderful because your attitude speaks to being a good team player and respecting others. And so, again, we're proud of you, we're proud of the team, and all the best in your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Welcome again, viewers. Joining me this time is the Honorable Tarek Frank. He is representing today the parish of St. David in the Youth Parliament. And Tarek, it's wonderful to have you join me here. And I just want to ask you quickly, what was your experience like in preparing for today's session?
All right, so good morning to the listeners and viewers. The preparation process was a bit tedious, but nevertheless, we came through. We did all the research that we had to do, and we're ready for today.
You're ready for today. So you're saying to me that you were comfortable with the preparation. You said tedious, but not overly stressful?
Not at all.
Right, great. So today, if the viewers would ask you, what can we expect from you? What would be your response?
You can expect a fiery debate from me and my other colleagues, being that we'll be speaking on youth-related matters, and one of the pressing public concern now of gun violence. I think the nation should tune in and listen to what we have to say today.
Okay, great. And I'm sure that while people are listening, they're getting very excited and can't wait to hear you. But let me ask you now, the young people who may be tuning in, do you think you can encourage them to do what you're doing today?
Of course, I just would like to encourage the young people out there that you should never give up on your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, or anything that you want to do. But it is important that you have that supportive background from your peers, family, and colleagues that you interact with on a daily basis. So my encouragement to you is do not give up. any opportunity that presents itself, you grab onto it and you make the best of it.
Very good. And so, are you confident that the content of your presentation will address issues that are current and challenges that the youth face in Grenada?
Yes, you'll be hearing more from me as it relates to substance abuse, mental health, and for the substantive motion, which is gun violence.
Thank you. Very well spoken. And like I said before, the Honorable Tarek Frank, we are going to be hearing from him, and he said he's going to be fiery. So viewers, stay tuned and don't move, because today's session will be worth the wait and the listening to. Thank you, Honorable Tarek Frank.
Thank you very much.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Thank you for staying with us, viewers. Joining me now is Trisha Jones-Williams from St. Andrew,
Good morning.
the breadbasket parish, like they say, of Grenada. And this is my first female parliamentarian, the Honorable Trisha Jones-Williams from St. Andrew. So, Honorable Jones-Williams, just share with us quickly, how prepared are you for today's sitting?
Good morning, Mrs. Dubois, and good morning to our viewers. Preparation for this sitting have been tedious because I've been working a lot. And I must say that the facilitators, they really encourage us, and I am prepared to make my points clear, and so that even the smallest child can understand. And I'm really looking forward for a very interesting and informative debate here today.
Well, you sound really, really, really excited. So, give us a little breakdown as to, you talked about the facilitators. Give us a little breakdown as to how the preparation went. I mean, with time for you, did you have enough time? Did you have to have some late nights going to bed and all that? You know, sometimes it's kind of interesting for us to know that.
So for preparations, initially I wanted to quit because the work that was involved and also my previous responsibilities, it was a bit challenging. And I remember having a meeting with Minister Lewis one night, and I said to her in the chat, I think I'm going to leave, but something just had me stuck, so I changed my mind. And writing the speech, I prayed, and then, as they say, the juices, you know, the thoughts just started flowing. And after that, I sent it to my opposition leader, and I actually said, you know, rehearsed it, and he said, well, that's a really good speech. So it's just a matter of delivering today.
All right. And I think your comments may make some young people who are listening to you think, because in all of our lives, we sometimes get to the point where we want to quit. But then we have a testimony after to say, you know, I didn't quit, and I'm so happy that it didn't happen. Yeah. So I really like that. So to the young people who may be listening today, what encouragement can you give to them with regard to not just your journey to this point, but also those who may want to be those who may want to be parliamentarians?
What I would say to them is that trials and tribulations would come in life. And whenever your mind tells you that you should go after something, I must first say that you pray about it, because God is the one that's going to give you everything that you need, first and foremost, to carry through that journey. And the second point is never give up, right? Even when you feel like there is no hope, and sometimes you may feel like God has forsaken you, but that's the time when He is walking in the background. And not only for this debate, but also throughout life, you may feel like I'm not good enough to go after what you want to go after, but the important point is to believe in yourself, because I have this motto: there is only two persons you can believe in and trust, is God and yourself, because you cannot give up on yourself. When you give up on yourself, there is nobody else to take for you. You have to stand for yourself. And I can say to them, remember that we can do all things, anything we put our mind to, through Christ who gives us the strength.
Okay, and if I may, I'll say amen to that. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to hear you.
Thank you.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Welcome back, viewers. Joining me now is someone who wears a very important hat. Kareem Salab is going to be the Speaker of the House, and the House would run in order because of him. So I want to welcome you here, and give us a little insight as to what it took for you to be prepared to be the Speaker of the House, because I know that most of the rules of the House have to lie with your execution.
Okay, so a pleasant morning to everyone, our viewers. Preparation, you said I wear a very important hat. Literally, I don't, but when the Parliament starts, the hat goes on. And my role and responsibility is to ensure that the decorum and standard of Parliament is set high and remains high, and that parliamentarians, they perform their duties according to the standards of Parliament. I would have been involved in Parliament. This is my third time as Speaker of the House. I was involved in National Youth Parliament twice before, so this is no strange grounds for me. I like to be seated above and be able to command. I would have already placed some ground rules to the parliamentarians so that they know what to expect from me. So I look forward to a very vibrant and educated debate.
I love it. I love it. I am just getting even more and more excited with all this. So what is your role today in terms of making an impression on the young people who may be watching?
Well, my role is just to encourage young people, because I'm a teacher by profession as well, and I encourage my students to believe that they can, they will, and they must do anything that they believe, but it has to start from here. And as one of our parliamentarians already said, once you believe in God, He can do everything. He is the God of the impossible. And sometimes we limit our potential and our abilities. I used to suffer, and I still suffer from anxiety, and you would probably never know, because I have taught myself how to surpass my challenges and make them into strengths. So, believe you can, you will, and you must, and it will happen.
if I may say so, I think, especially in recent times, we've seen some of the standards being lowered in our parliament, in our houses of parliament. Would your performance today reassure our young people that the standards would be raised again, would be upheld and upkept by the younger generation who is coming after?
Well, at the beginning of the sitting, I pledge. You would hear that I would pledge to uphold the standards of the Parliament, and that's my promise and guarantee to the public. I don't just aim to be a youth parliamentarian. I would one day look forward to being the Speaker of the House in our national parliament. It's a dream of mine, and I pray by God's grace that it one day comes true.
You just said that we serve the God of the impossible, and I think what you're saying is not far from impossible at all. It's not impossible at all, because you already have your feet well dipped in those waters. And should you so desire, I think it will happen. And I think you will make an excellent Speaker of the House in the future. I just hope I'll be around to experience that, and I applaud you with your attitude, because we have to, again, pull our young people together so that they can appreciate the good things in life, the noble things in life, the honorable things in life. Again, I just want to wish you the best.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who made this possible. The young people are the future, and opportunities like this give us the platform to voice our opinions and to be heard. So thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Welcome again, viewers. This time I'm being joined by Honorable Lindsay Franklin, who is going to be representing the parish of St. John. Welcome, Honorable Lindsay Franklin. And can you just share with us quickly what was the experience for you like in preparing for today's session?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, viewers. Well, I currently attend the T.A. Marisho Community College, and I'm studying law at the moment. So it was really difficult having to reach home on time for the Zoom practices, but I made it my duty because I have a passion for Parliament and law, and I really like doing this thing.
Wow, I'm impressed. Because you know, the sacrifice and the commitment shows here.
Yes.
So for the young people who may be looking on today, how can you encourage them? What can they expect from you?
Well, I would be taking you all on a roller coaster ride today, an emotional roller coaster ride. And if you are interested in one day partaking in the youth parliament, first off, you must believe in yourself. Trust that the step you are going to take would one day pay off. Because sometimes people get involved in these things and they don't reach anywhere, but trust in yourself and trust in God. As my mom always tell me, and I've been using that motto throughout the years, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Always believe in yourself, and that with God you can achieve anything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure having you here, and I can't wait to hear you as well.
Thank you.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Welcome back, viewers. Joining me now is Brianna Primus, lovely princess that hails from Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Well, Carriacou, but representing Carriacou and Petite Martinique. So the Honorable Brianna Primus is with me. And Brianna, welcome, welcome, welcome. Carriacou has a special place in my heart. And so I just want to ask you quickly, what was your experience like preparing for today's session?
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. It was kind of challenging for me because this is my first time being a part of a debate team. Okay. Hello, good morning. This is the first time being a part of a debate team, and it was very challenging for me.
But can you say that although it was challenging for you, that you made it through and that you're prepared for today's session?
Yes, I did, and my confidence level is very high.
Excellent, excellent. So what advice do you have for the young people now who may be looking at you today, especially those from Carriacou and Petite Martinique who may be so excited?
My advice to the young people out there from Carriacou and Petite Martinique is to be aware and take in the points that we are about to give in today.
All right. So again, Brianna, we're looking forward to hearing you. And viewers, you know, something that touched me here with the young people today is that they all have a connection with God. And this is important because there's nothing we can do right if God is not with us. And so I just want to encourage everybody to stay on today and look at today's youth parliament that will be in session and will be hosted by the new national party.
All rise. The speaker.
Guide, we beseech thee, Almighty God, members of this honorable house, that they may be wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name. We will now say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Pray, be seated. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Kate Lewis and also the Leader of Her Majesty Opposition, Dr. Keith Mitchell, who is live with us via Zoom. We now allow him to make some brief remarks as we begin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, let me first recognize all the parliamentarians on both government and opposition side of this important parliament session. And also to clearly recognize Honorable Kate Lewis for this important initiative that we are witnessing today. And to all the parliamentarians who are with us, I just want to make this point, that I believe that this initiative is certainly a noble one, because what has to be clear is that the future of this country are going to be in the hands of the young people of our country. And those of you here who are part of this exercise will be budding parliamentarians, we hope, in the future, and leading this country and ensuring the peace and stability and the good governance of this country will be maintained over the period after people like myself service has ended. So I'm extremely happy to have this initiative and to be part of this important initiative, as I said today. On the issue specifically of gun violence, clearly the topic is extremely important, because the peace and stability of our country will certainly be a major factor in the lifestyle of the people of that country. You cannot have serious economic activity the development of the productive sectors of the economy, and of course, the improvement in the lives of the people of the country, without clearly the peace and stability and of course, the effective question of security of our country. So I believe the topic is extremely relevant, and therefore I want to compliment all of you again for being part of this important exercise because of the importance of the topic, and of course, because it sends the right message of our interest in providing the necessary avenue to showcase the talent of the young people and to show that Grenada in the future will be in clearly very good hands. Once again, to all the parliamentarians who are here with us this morning, let me thank you, and I'll be anxiously awaiting the results, of course, and just seeing how things have transpired today. Let me also make the point, I would have loved nothing more than to be there physically with you. But as you know, with the parliament and having just delivered, the government just delivered the national budget, and I'm due to respond very soon. And in addition of some personal issues that I have to deal with today, I'm definitely unable to be physically there. I would nothing want more than to shake all of your hands and of course to take some pictures with the future leaders of this country. Once again, all the best, and I look forward to a very successful session of this important youth parliament today. Thank you all and all the best. Thank you, Sister Kate, for your initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Leader of His Majesty Opposition.
I am advised by proclamation that the 2023 sitting of the Youth Parliamentarians of the new National Party, duly appointed, should meet and transact their business in the Honorable House on the 5th day of December 2023. I am further advised by the proclamation that the affairs of the Youth Parliament will be conducted with wisdom, temper, and prudence, and that upon all occasions the rights of all citizens and members will be respected and recognized.
Honorable members, I am not unmindful of the honor which you have conferred on me today in electing me to this highest of office, that of Speaker of your servant. It will be my aim and duty to uphold the principles and traditions of this House and secure for each member the right to express his or her opinions within the limits necessary to preserve the decorum of this House. I pledge to recognize the rights and privileges of the honorable members and the House itself. I wish also to assure you that I will preside in a manner which will facilitate the orderly transaction of debate, and above all, I will seek to be fair and impartial in the decisions, the rules of Parliament, and you yourself entrust to me. This Honorable House is now in session.
Confirmation of minutes. Announcements by Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, let us now be reminded of the rules that governs the sitting of this House. I am certain you have acquainted yourself with the rules, But one that I must remind you of is that we would like all cell phones to be turned on vibrate or silent to avoid any disruption of this house. Thank you. We will begin with the first session or round of debate. This round will only represent 7 individuals from the 7 different parishes who will enlighten us on some of the issues and challenges that their parishes have been faced with. You may proceed by parish. I now call on the first parish, St. George, the representative of St. George.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I stand before you to address a critical issue that plagues our workplaces: age discrimination, a silent predator, particularly against our vibrant youth. It is an insidious issue that lurks in the shadows, often ignored, yet it stains the very fabric of our society. In the world of professionalism, we worship at the altar of experience. It is hailed as a badge of honor, a symbol of an individual's prowess, competence, and industry savvy. However, let me ask you this. Does this mean that those who are just setting their foot on their career path, those brimming with youthful energy and untapped potential, should be cast aside simply because their resume does not span multiple pages? I believe not. Mr. Speaker, when we speak of age discrimination, the picture that often comes to mind is that of older individuals being marginalized due to their age. However, there's another side to this coin. Every day, youthful candidates brimming with fresh ideas and innovative perspectives are turned away from job opportunities due to their lack of experience. This is not just an injustice to these individuals. It is a loss for our businesses. The youth are not just the leaders of tomorrow. They are the change makers of today. Their energy, creativity, tenacity, and willingness to challenge the status quo can bring a breath of fresh air into our organizations. Their inherent understanding of modern technology can help companies adapt and thrive in this fast-paced digital world. Yet, these very individuals often find closed doors when they step into the job market. They're told they are not experienced enough, not seasoned enough. But let me ask you this: how on earth can they gain this experience if they are not given the chance in the first place? Mr. Speaker, it is high time we shatter our narrow understanding of the term experience, because the number of years etched on a job does not necessarily mirror the depth of one's wisdom or the expanse of skills one wields. We must acknowledge that growth and learning can ignite instantly when fueled by passion, dedication, and an insatiable hunger for knowledge. The youth are bursting at the seams with these qualities. Hence, we must arm our young professionals with a chance to demonstrate their grit, to let them learn and evolve. We need to nurture an environment that doesn't cast judgment based on age, but one that values merit over mere tenure in the industry. It is our duties as employers, colleagues, as a collective society, and even as a government to obliterate age discrimination in all its ugly manifestation from our workplaces. We must engrave in our minds that every individual, irrespective of their age, brings unique value to the table. Let us not clip the wings of our youth. Let's give them the space to soar. Let's open doors and minds to the fresh, the new, and the innovative. Let's build workplaces where age is just a number,
and talent, potential, and dedication are what truly count. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jaime Franklin, representative from St. George. We now invite the representative from St. Patrick, the Honorable Zinzi Noel, who will join us via Zoom. And before she begins, I would like to remind every member that during this round of the debate, each member only has 4 minutes, so let us use our time wisely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am here today as the dedicated representative of St. Patrick's, tasked with addressing the critical challenges that our vibrant and ambitious youth face. The potential for positive change lies within their aspirations, but we must acknowledge and address the barriers that hinder their journey to success. Mr. Speaker, at the forefront of these challenges is the need for educational opportunities. Our youth are hungry for knowledge and advancement, seeking scholarships that will unlock the doors to higher education. By investing in scholarships, we not only invest in the individual, but also in the collective intellect and potential of our community. Mr. Speaker, in tandem with traditional education, the landscape of the job market is evolving, demanding a diverse set of skills. We must champion skill training initiatives in areas such as AI, electronics, electrical, and plumbing. These skills are the building blocks of innovation and are essential for our youth to thrive in the competitive and ever-changing professional world. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the creative arts represent a wellspring of untapped talent in our parish. By fostering creativity through education and support for artistic endeavors, we not only cultivate individual expression, but also contribute to the cultural richness of our community. Mr. Speaker, sports, with their inherent values of teamwork, discipline, and resilience, are integral to the holistic development of our youth. By expanding opportunities for participation in football, basketball, netball, and other sports, we provide avenues for physical well-being and character development. Financial empowerment, Mr. Speaker, is a linchpin in unlocking the entrepreneurial spirit of our youth. Grant funding is a vital source for those seeking to start small businesses. By facilitating access to grants, we empower our young entrepreneurs to transform their innovative ideas into reality, contributing to the economic vibrancy of St. Patrick's. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, addressing the multifaceted needs of our youth requires a comprehensive and collaborative approach. As we deliberate on policy and resource allocation, let us be mindful of the transformative impact that investing in education, skills, sports, and entrepreneurship can have on the future of St. Patrick's. Together, let us forge a path that empowers our youth to overcome challenges and emerge as leaders in our community, driving progress and prosperity for generations to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zinzi Noel, member for representative for St. Patrick. We now call on the member for the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, the Honorable Phanisha Stafford.
I rise to give voice on the concerns of the youths of my little island, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, take a look at our young people, the potential in their eyes, Mr. Speaker. We are the future for tomorrow. The youth issues like peer pressure, unemployment, and victimization are the significant concerns in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. The many youths on this little island suffers from peer pressure. This is a major factor. Mr. Speaker, this can influence the decision making that is and can be wrong in the eyes of the law and lead to risky and unethical behaviors. Mr. Speaker, many youths on the island do not have a choice of their own, but they just follow the bandwagon. Mr. Speaker, secondly, we have unemployment. This is seen as the most important issue that needs addressing. Last year, during the campaign season, the present government promised posts to many people on the island, jobs which were going to give a revenue. But Mr. Speaker, more than 10% of the persons on Carriacou and Petit Martinique are now unemployed because they left the youths and their parents with no means of revenue. Moreover, in the 2023 budget, the Minister for Finance, Mr. Cornwall, stated that there has been a decline in unemployment. But decline where? Nevertheless, there are still many young people throughout Carriacou and Petit Martinique out of jobs. Mr. Speaker, one thing leads to another. With headache and no jobs, no means of revenue, the youths will be forced to break laws. Things should be put in place to widen the opportunities for young people. Don't talk about victimization. Victimization has serious consequences on their mental and physical well-being. These issues require attention and support from the community and the government to create a safer and more inclusive environment for the youths. Mr. Speaker, victimization has gone wild. The people who are supposed to be helping and are not. The political people are, Mr. Speaker, the people who are supposed to be helping are not. They are victimizing the youths because of their parents' political affiliation. Many are being turned down for reasons no one knows. And we could take, for instance, myself. My parents are heavily into the politics, and we are being victimized each day since this government got into power. Mr. Speaker, this is mind-turning. Something needs to be done. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member or Representative for Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I see the passion coming from you. Very well delivered. Now, I invite the representative from the Parish of St. Mark, the Honorable Prince James.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker. I am here this morning deliberating on issues that are being faced within the Parish of St. Mark's. St. Mark's has been known throughout the years as it relates to our human resource development. With our past parliamentary, well, not past parliamentary representative in a sense, but as of the past parliamentary representative within the government's entity, Dr. Clarice Modeste did play an essential part in ensuring St. Markians, and we can say this proudly, are persons who are always involved in programs once disseminated by government. And so we have seen a serious decline in this. The Empower program, the Imani program, even that of the apple picking. I know that Dr. Modeste played an essential part in ensuring young men and women within the parish was involved in every program given by government. What I can say at this present time in St. Mark's, this has declined significantly. And so, Mr. Speaker, the young people of St. Mark's cries out as those in Carriacou as it relates to victimization. As opposed to Carriacou, we have voted a one government in St. Mark's from since, as old people will say, Lane Kane. So I believe the victimization in St. Mark's would not be so far-fetched as it relates to Carriacou. But however, the young people in St. Mark's, as I have aforementioned, deals with our human resource. We cry for the programs that we would have had to ensure that our young men especially, and in St. Mark's, we can proudly speak as it relates to the amount of young men at one time we saw was on a dangerous path. And through to those programs, we have seen significant developments. Young men that I can point out even now as it relates to their development through time. The housing project that was given to us in St. Mark's, young men and women in St. Mark's who thought that the opportunity would have been given to them in terms of earning, or that first step in earning homes, have now left their doorsteps. Persons are now crying out, individuals are mentioning that, hey, as it relates to its present stance, I can't do it as young people in St. Mark's. And in St. Mark's, we're crying not just for mere political representation, but we have on the government side a senator who's of youthfulness. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I can say at this stage, it seems like he's any other citizen within the parish. So in St. Mark's, our representation has gone, our involvement in human resource and development has gone, and our young people being able to develop themselves and bring themselves forward, especially within the housing ministry, it has left us in a state in St. Mark's whereby we're crying out not just to government, but I believe we're asking for regional support at this stage. Because St. Mark's, as we know, as we have proudly said within the years, in St. Mark's we've made marks. And of recent, we can say that is of no more. So, Mr. Speaker, the people of St. Mark's, the young people of St. Mark's, continue to cry for government's involvement in our human resource development and being able, as a rural community, to continue on the charge that we are part of this country and our development to state building is of importance. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prince James. We now move to the fishing parish of St. John. We now invite Honorable Lindsay Franklin.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it burdens my heart to speak about the issues that are affecting our youths within the parish of St. John. Mr. Speaker, but it needs to be addressed. Mr. Speaker, some of these issues will be addressed in the speech given. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, unemployment is one of the biggest issues that the youths of St. John are facing. Mr. Speaker, it is not like most of the youths are uneducated, but they are not given the opportunity to acquire any jobs based on victimization by persons in leadership. The youths who may be uneducated, on the other hand, can do some sort of skill which should ensure them obtaining a job to make a living. Mr. Speaker, not having jobs would lead to or help promote poverty amongst the community. Poverty is another issue, Mr. Speaker. Poverty led by poor financial management. This is another visible issue that our future tomorrows are facing daily. This constituency is one that is filled with much craftsmanship, where many persons are self-employed. Despite the various causes of low-quality livelihood, this has been observed to be another factor. Most of the money earned through hard labor is spent recklessly on expensive clothing, fashion, parties, etc., while the needs of the homes remain unmet. Mr. Speaker, having seminars that educate youths on how to manage their money would help be very beneficial to them. Mr. Speaker, there is also a lack of recreational centers. Although there are community centers, most of them are not functioning to its full capacity. These centers can be used to help resolve and even allow the youths to give queries, which would help give them a sense of having a voice. For example, the provision of recreational activities and other programs that can uplift the community. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the youths of St. John are being faced with lack of confidentiality. This concern has resulted in many persons who are in dire need of services offered to remain in their situation of the fear of their business being released by members of public offices. This should not be the case. Youth should be able to feel a sense of confidentiality and motive to better their lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Lindsay Franklin. We now move to the big parish, or the breadbasket of Grenada, St. Andrew, and we now invite the Honorable Tricia Jones-Williams. Okay, in replacement of Tricia Jones-Williams, we will have Vanessa Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. I was tasked with presenting a few concerns of the individuals of St. Andrews. Mr. Speaker, the youths of St. Andrews are faced with challenges that prevent them from getting jobs. Most persons may say that there is a lot of jobs available, but to what extent? Mr. Speaker, the jobs that is being made available are asking for them to at least have 3 to 5 years experience. Mr. Speaker, the jobs that is being presented are actually asking them to have at least 5+ CXC passes. Most of the persons or youths in St. Andrews may not have even completed high school or even had the opportunity to attend college. How are they supposed to apply for jobs? How is this even relevant? How can you stand and say that, there are jobs available and you make it so hard for them to apply for the jobs to begin with? Mr. Speaker, honorable members, persons attempting to start small businesses because obviously they're not able to apply for the jobs, they're unable to have the funding available. There's nothing in place to provide the funding for them as we speak. We are frustrated. Mr. Speaker, due to the lack of funding for small businesses, most may say that it's better to start their own businesses, but where exactly are they going to get it from? They need to have something in place to give them a good start. Permit me to share a personal experience, Mr. Speaker. When I started my small business, most people may not know I was provided with the necessary equipment needed by Honorable Member Kate. I would have informed her that, I'm unemployed. I need something to provide for myself, to help assist my family. So she would have provided me with the necessary stuff to start. Mr. Speaker, there was even a program, and I'm subjected to correction, but if you may permit me to get that information. 1 second. There was a youth-based program just before that assisted, but today, where is it? It's no longer there. Honorable members, Mr. Speaker, I cannot stress on how frustrating this must be for our nation's youths. We have had an alarming increase in pediolasty, most of which are committed by unemployed youths within various communities. I'm not only speaking for St. Andrews. In Grenada, there is a rise in pediolasty. When you ask persons who would have been arrested or so on, why would you have resulted in such drastic measures? The responses would be, and I quote, "What else is there to do? It didn't have no work. Those are the things that young people are responding to when you ask, why is it you would have resulted into pediolarceny? It's heartbreaking, it's saddening, Mr. Speaker. We have persons resulting to suicide as they are constantly feeling an increase in depression due to lack of funding or simply them not being able to provide for their families. Most persons may have felt like they would have been adding stress to family members. They would have felt like, they will not be able to aid into providing stuff, they feel dependent on persons. Some people may not like to ask for help because they feel like they will be bashed. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing in place for people like this. How are we supposed to feel as a community learning that one of our community members would attempt or choose to commit suicide because they feel like they have no hope, they have nothing in place to help them? Mr. Speaker, I am positive that the previous concerns mentioned are not only issues faced within St. Andrews. It is issues faced within Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter McNay. Mr. Speaker, I speak for everyone when I say the people of St. Andrews, the people of Grenada, we will not yield and we will not stay quiet and pretend like everything is okay, because it's clearly not. We need stuff being put in place. We need things to be done. We need actual help, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vanessa Peters. We see the passion, we see the concern, we see the worry. At this time, by no means last, but by no means least, we go to the parish of St. David, and we call on the representative, the Honorable Tariq Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I begin to address the issues within St. David's and also the wider, within the state of Grenada, there is a central theme that the 6 other persons have mentioned that keep coming up. That is lack of employment, victimization, confidentiality, and no programs in place for our young people. Just to go back, the previous government had the Empower program as it relates to men, which was the brainchild of our opposition leader at present. And speaking to young persons who was part of the Empower program, they thought that they would have had others would have gotten the opportunity to be a part of the program as well. But today it seems like I believe that anything that was the brainchild of the New National Party seems to be not good, or it comes to a point where they just discard it. But it is important to note that the Empower program was shared within the regional with regional governments, and one like such country that took our Empower program is Trinidad, in which the MP for St. Andrew Northeast went to Trinidad to meet with Shamfa Chugo in relation to sharing the Empower program with Trinidad. And right now, Trinidad and Tobago have the Empower program, which is making stride, and they have invested more money within the budget in Trinidad for the Empower program. Mr. Speaker, several issues confronting young people at this time is that of substance abuse, and we need to get a hold of issues relating to substance abuse within the state of Grenada and within the parish of St. David's. We need to also combat the use of alcohol. It's disheartening to see that the first thing you see a young person with on a morning is either they drinking rum, or they have a beer, or they have a carib, or they have a stag. Under the New National Party, you would have seen young men passing with their bag, heading to work, heading to make a living, and to provide for their families, and so on. There is also a lack of civic engagement with our young people at this time, which is present, in which we are forced to confront with, because there seems to not be any involvement in relation to young people, engaging them in the process of decision making, and all these programs that catered for that has been dismantled at this time. I must touch on one such important aspect in relation to young people, but it may not be directly related to young persons, but it's spread throughout for everyone that lives within the state of Grenada, and that is access to healthcare. This is, while getting ready to come here, I was reading a post on Facebook by a known person that supports the present government at this time. And they were sharing their personal experience of having to go to the General Hospital last Saturday. And it burns that that particular individual could have seen beyond the lens of politics that the healthcare system has deteriorated under this present administration. We as young persons, we need to see more money placed into the, well, I can't say more money placed because they're boasting that they have placed the largest set of money within the healthcare sector, but there is no value to show that, okay, you place more money, what are the results, what are the approaches that you are going to take to basically assist in making sure that the nation's young people, elderly, are well taken care of and having proper access to basically good medical care. In the midst of Grenada, the youth are confronting these challenges and all what my other speakers before me said. We are confronting the challenges head on. Amidst the ever-changing world, they strive for education, empowerment, equal opportunity, shaping a brighter future through their resilience and determination. It is important to note that we as young persons, while speaking here, we're not opposing or just speaking because we want to speak. We are speaking on real issues and matters that affect young persons throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And as I close, I just want to leave this quote with our young people as they go through the many challenges that they face. In the battles of ideas, let love prevail. A future free from fear we shall unveil. With open hearts, let's start a new way. Embrace your dreams, ignite your passion, and elevate in your day-to-day activities to you reaching your limitless potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative for the Parish of St. David. I would like to say a heartfelt thank you to each representative who stood here boldly and articulately echoed the issues and challenges faced by your parishes. At this time, as we move into the second segment, I would like to have a 2-minute break so that we can prepare ourselves for the resolution that will be brought forward.
Stay up to date.
Now, in recess for 2 minutes.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for being punctual. 2 minutes has elapsed and you're back here already. At this time, we would move into our second section.
Motions.
Speaker, I wish to move for the adoption of the following resolution.
Honorable member, just hold for a while. Although I cannot see you physically, I would like to acknowledge you. Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Honorable Zinzi Noel, you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to move for the adoption of the following resolution standing in my name. Whereas gun violence and gun-related crime constitutes a grave public concern that affects the public health, safety, and security of people throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Whereas the gun killing on March 21st, 2023 has prompted widespread discussion, especially taking into account the situation in a few of the Caribbean territories that are suffering from the scourge of crime. And whereas in recent weeks, guns and ammunition were discovered after searches were conducted by customs and police officers at the main St. George's port, in addition to police confiscating several illegal firearms as part of a drug bust operations and search warrants. And whereas gun violence presents a clear and present danger to the general public. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Government of Grenada urgently implement proactive measures to prevent gun violence and ensure safe communities. Mr. Speaker, I am here as the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security to address a matter of utmost urgency that plagues our beloved nation: the escalating crisis of gun violence and gun-related crime that undermines the very fabric of our society. Let me start by addressing what gun violence means. According to Amnesty International and the American Academy of Family Physicians, gun violence refers to the use of firearms to cause harm or injury, often resulting in injury or death to individuals. It encompasses various forms, including but not limited to homicides, suicides, assaults, and accidental shootings, where firearms are a central factor in the occurrence of violent incidents. Gun violence is a complex social issue with multifaceted causes impacting individuals, communities, and societies. The tragic gun killing incident on March 21st, 2023 serves as a stark reminder of the grave threat posed by gun violence to the public health, safety, and security of our people in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. The repercussions of this event have reverberated not only within our borders, Mr. Speaker, but have sparked widespread concern, echoing the challenges faced by our Caribbean neighbors grappling with the scourge of crime. Mr. Speaker, in the past months, the discovery of illicit drugs and ammunition during searches at the main St. George's port, coupled with the commendable efforts of our customs and police officers in confiscating illegal firearms during drug bust operations and search warrants, highlight the urgent need for decisive action. Mr. Speaker, the clear and present danger that gun violence poses to our general public demands a response that goes beyond rhetoric. According to the Caribbean Investigative Journalism Network, Mr. Speaker, statistics show that in 2022, for the first 6 months, 16 firearms were confiscated, while for 2023, that number for the same period is 31. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I bring forth this resolution, a call to arms, not in the form of weapons, but in the spirit of determination and unity. It is imperative that we, as the Government of Grenada, take immediate and proactive measures to stem the tide of gun violence and to secure our communities. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is not just a piece of paper, it is a commitment to the safety and well-being of our citizens. Let us come together across party lines and forge a united front against the forces that threaten our nation. Mr. Speaker, the time for action is now, and the Government of Grenada stands ready to lead the charge in ensuring the implementation of these crucial measures. I present to you, Mr. Speaker, a comprehensive set of proactive measures that we as a nation can and will undertake to prevent and mitigate this scourge. Mr. Speaker, we will commit ourselves to a perpetual review of existing legislation, tirelessly identifying gaps and areas for improvement. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, we pledge unwavering support for legislative reforms that harmonize with the dynamic nature of gun violence, ensuring that our laws remain resilient and effective in the face of evolving challenges. Mr. Speaker, to confront the cross-border issues surrounding the illegal arms trade, we will forge collaborative partnership with our neighboring countries. Our active participation in international forums will facilitate the sharing of best practices and the coordination of efforts to combat transitional crime. As Marty Stepanek amply put it, Mr. Speaker, permission to quote?
Permission granted.
And I quote, unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. End quote. Our vision for safe communities, Mr. Speaker, relies on collective efforts where government, law enforcement, and citizens collaborate seamlessly to fortify the foundations of security. Mr. Speaker, recognizing the pivotal role of our youth in shaping our nation's future, we commit to implementing programs that engage them in positive activities and mentorship. Mr. Speaker, by doing so, we endeavor to divert our young minds away from the purples of violence. Mr. Speaker, early intervention initiatives will also be set in motion to identify and support at-risk youth, guiding them onto a path free from the clutches of violence. Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge the profound impact of mental health on individuals at risk of engaging in violent behavior. To address this, Mr. Speaker, we will allocate resources for mental health services, ensuring timely identification and assistance. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, we will integrate mental health professionals into law enforcement and crisis response teams, addressing the root causes of violence with empathy and expertise. Mr. Speaker, our commitment to public safety extends to targeted operations aimed at disrupting illegal arms trafficking networks. We will enhance intelligence sharing mechanisms, enabling us to track and apprehend individuals involved in organized crime related to firearms, thereby dismantling the very infrastructure that fuels violence. Mr. Speaker, embracing the power of technology, we will deploy gunshot detection systems to augment our ability to respond swiftly to incidents. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, traceability measures will be implemented to track the origin and movement of firearms, empowering law enforcement in their mission to prevent and combat illegal activities. Mr. Speaker, understanding the profound and lasting impact of gun violence on victims and their families, Mr. Speaker, we will establish comprehensive support programs. These programs will offer counseling and rehabilitation services, providing solace to those who have endured the trauma inflicted by such acts. Mr. Speaker, these proactive measures of legislation review and reform, international cooperation, mental health support, youth engagement and intervention, and investment in technology can combat gun violence in our tri-island state. As a Minister of National Security, it is crucial to clarify that our government is not against owning guns. We believe in responsible gun ownership and are dedicated to reducing gun violence by prioritizing initiatives that educate and train citizens in proper firearm safety practices. May we, as representatives of the people, rise above political differences and work hand in hand to create a Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique where safety is not a luxury, but a fundamental right for every citizen. Let us urgently implement these proactive measures that go beyond rhetoric, measures that stand as a testament to our commitment.
Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, I know that you are passionate about your speech. However, your time has elapsed. Would you need 30 seconds to wrap up?
Yes, thank you.
You're granted 30 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, as I wrap up, in the immortal words of Michael Jackson, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Let us be the change makers and the architects of a safer and more secure Grenada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. Zinzi Noel, Prime Minister and Minister of National Security. Honorable members, the question proposed to the new National Party's National Youth Parliament of Grenada is that whereas gun violence and gun-related crimes constitutes a grave public concern that affects the public health, safety, and security of people throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique, whereas the gun killing on March 21st, 2023 has prompted widespread discussion, especially taking into account the situation in a few of the Caribbean territories that are suffering from the scourge of crime. And whereas in recent weeks, guns and ammunition were discovered after searches were conducted by customs and police officers at the main St. George's port, in addition to the police confiscating several illegal firearms as part of a drug bust operations and search warrants. And whereas gun violence presents a clear and present danger to the general public. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Government of Grenada urgently implement proactive measures to prevent gun violence and ensure safe community. Do we have anyone seconding the motion? Honorable Brandon Felix, Minister of Finance and Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the resolution brought forward in this Honorable House by the Honorable Prime Minister. Right. Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. As Minister for Finance and Economic Development, I stand here before you not only as a custodian for our nation's financial well-being, but as a loyal advocate for the holistic prosperity of our beloved Grenada. Now, Mr. Speaker, in the midst of this crisis, is it acceptable to overlook the financial implications and prolonged insecurity when a strategic allocation can enhance both safety and economic development? Are we willing to jeopardize the potential growth of business and investment by neglecting the critical link between public safety and economic prosperity? Now, let us reflect on the old saying of Benjamin Franklin that says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, Mr. Speaker, I passionately believe that we as members of government must not wait for another tragedy to happen, Mr. Speaker, for us to take action. Now, by implementing gunshot detection system and traceability measures, we can improve our public safety drastically, Mr. Speaker. And also, as a Minister for Finance, I pledge to fully commit my ministry to address this issue, to fully commit to address this issue, Mr. Speaker. We will take the necessary actions to support the relevant ministries and allocate resources respectively, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, in the face of rising gun violence, it is imperative that we recognize the profound impact it has on our society. It is not only jeopardizing our safety and the safety of our citizens, but also it undermines the very foundation upon which our economy is built. Without a doubt, Mr. Speaker, we cannot ignore the fact that secure and peaceful environment is a prerequisite for sustainable economical development. Furthermore, we hold the citizens of Grenada in high regard, Mr. Speaker. Hence, we cannot afford to be paralyzed by indecision. We have to act now. As the saying goes, fortune favors the bold. Therefore, we as a government must boldly confront these issues head on, Mr. Speaker. Now is the time to fortify our community against the looming threats of gun violence, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, according to the old Chinese proverbs, prevention is a best cure. The cost of treating wounds inflicted by gun violence, Mr. Speaker, both in human lives and economic terms, far exceed the investment requirements for protective measures. It is not just a matter of reacting to incidents but is a matter of proactively fortifying our community against a surge of violence. Undoubtedly, Mr. Speaker, a comprehensive approach will empower our citizens to make the choices and contribute to a safer Grenada. Also, there is an African proverb that states, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The same principle applies to our journey towards a safer community, Mr. Speaker. I urge your opposition to see our pictures and work together with us, Mr. Speaker. By doing this, Mr. Speaker, we can foster collaboration among various stakeholders, government agency, law enforcement, community leaders, and citizens. Only through a united front, we can implement comprehensive and effective strategies to address the root cause of gun violence in Grenada, Mr. Speaker. Now, as I close, let us also heed the wisdom of an Indian proverb that says, a tree is known by its fruits. our society too will be judged by the outcomes we produce. By taking a decisive action now, Mr. Speaker, against gun violence, we can cultivate an environment where families can flourish, businesses can strive, and our youth can aspire to brighter and a more prosperous future, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Brandon Felix, Minister of Finance and Economic Development. Before we continue, I would like to remind this Honorable House, I know it is a very nerve-wracking period for you, but the rules of this House stand that if you are to quote, you must ask the Speaker of this House. So please, I do not want to interrupt anyone and make them more nervous than they are already. Please follow the rules of this Honorable House. Thank you. Honorable Prince James, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. A pleasant good morning to you and to this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker, this resolution states that the Government of Grenada urgently implements proactive measures to prevent gun violence and to ensure a safe communities. However, Mr. Speaker, I believe that this resolution should have said that the Government of Grenada should have understood the urgency of implementing proactive measures to prevent gun violence and to ensure a safer community.
Honorable member, are you suggesting that the resolution be amended?
No, Mr. Speaker, and if I would have done so, I would have done so through you.
Okay.
Because here we are, Mr. Speaker, and the government is stating that they are going to make implementation, and as we sit in this Honorable House, they are grieving families and persons that are curing from wounds due to gun violence. Mr. Speaker, what does it mean to be urgent? As it relates to a data from the Oxford Language Dictionary, it says, in a way which requires immediate action or attention. Mr. Speaker, after a press conference held in July of this year, it has been made public that 16 firearms were confiscated last year from January to June. This year, Mr. Speaker, while that press conference was being held in July, it was stated that 31 firearms was confiscated. Mr. Speaker, I ask this Honorable House this question. If this is not a call for immediate, what is? This situation doesn't require government to travel and ask for aid. This is an in-house matter that requires the responsibility of the Prime Minister, who's under his belt that national security takes eminence and importance. The saying better late than never has gone out the door to grieving families because it is too late. There are members within our community who have lost family members due to gun violence. Since July of this year, the Government of Grenada would have acknowledged the increase in gun violence. And we sit here, my colleagues and I, and speak as it relates to immediate action. Mr. Speaker, within a 10-day period in Grenada, we had 3 fatalities due to gun violence, back to back over the weekend. And you come in this Honorable House and you speak of urgency. I need not to go into explaining as it relates to the Firearm Act, because my fellow members will do so. The PM has to his disposal men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And so implementation and strategic implementation of block searches and road searches and hold searches are things that should have been implemented. I am hearing the Prime Minister now speaking as it relates to all the nice initiatives. I am saying to you, Mr. Finance Minister, that the allocation...
Honorable member, please remember that you cannot speak speak directly to the members on the other side.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. However, through you, I would like to tell the honorable member responsible for finances that the amount of money he would have allocated thus far in terms of what the initiative they have to implement, I believe our undertakers have accumulated the same amount for the amount of persons who would have died thus far. Mr. Speaker, every sector of Grenada will be affected or have been affected by gun violence. While other countries since 9/11 have been implementing a safer airport and seaport, here in Grenada, within the Royal Grenada Police Force, when you default, you find yourself on the port, whereby this is one of our places where we must initiate proper training and security for our people. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, it is not immediate when you, at this 99th hour, bringing all level of implementations to some good to the Grenadian people. At the end of the day, we have 9 months from since the very first incident that was March 23rd. We are heading into its 9th month. So what do you consider immediate, Mr. Speaker? What do you ask of the people of Grenada, Carrick, and Petite Martinique to be immediate? It was immediate when you came into this honorable house and asked for an increase in $100,000 or $100 million in an increase in that budget. But it was not immediate to initiate things when it speaks of gun violence. Mr. Speaker, if it took 9 months to do so, I hope it does not take 2 decades. This honorable house and the members on this side stands on the premise that your urgency and drag your foot method is where we are today and what causes us to be here today. We ask of this government that even if the initiative that has or will be taken must be promptly and not be as lengthy as the time of the very first incident. Mr. Speaker, in closing, I would like to implore to the other side that the implementation of those processes that they will be speaking of today be done urgently to its immediate effect. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader of the Opposition. Member for St. Andrews Southeast, Tricia Jones-Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pleasant morning to honorable members. Mr. Speaker, permit me to read over the resolution. Be it therefore resolved that the Government of Grenada urgently implement proactive measures to prevent gun violence and ensure safe communities. Mr. Speaker, I clearly see that something is missing from this resolution. What's missing, you may ask? Illegal possession of firearms as opposed to legal possession of firearms. Mr. Speaker, there is a great difference between the two. According to Collins Dictionary, legal means established by or permitted by.
Honorable Speaker, again, are you quoting from that dictionary, or is that a summary?
A summary, sir. Can I proceed? Right. According to Collins Dictionary, legal means established by or permitted by law, while illegal means against the law. What does that mean? For example, Mr. Speaker, if our members on the other side decide that they're going to gang up against us and just come with their ammunition and shoot us down, the police come and they don't have no license, it means that they have weapons illegally. But if a farmer, for example, got his license to protect his property from the thieves in this country, then he has his firearm legally. Mr. Speaker, most of the gun violence in our country is as a result of illegal possession of firearms. According to Volume 1 of the Criminal Code of Grenada, Chapter 20, Subsection 1 of the Firearm Act, a person shall not, subject to Subsection 2, be in possession of any firearm or ammunition except, and I repeat, except under and in accordance with the terms and conditions of a firearm user's license. So, Mr. Speaker, basically, if I don't have a license, why am I going to get a gun in the first place? So I could go in jail and get free food? Mr. Speaker, are we really going to sit here and listen to the members on the other side as they ignore the fact that increase in gun violence is as a result of illegal possession? I really hope not. I'll make it a little clearer so even children can understand. Permission to quote, Mr. Speaker.
Permission is granted.
Thank you. According to an article from the Barnacle dated February 25th, 2023, and I quote, February 23, the youth arm of the new National Party voiced great concerns about the increase in gun-related violence. And I quote, while Grenada enjoys a relatively peaceful society, we must not be naive about the realization of the illegal importation of firearms and ammunition into Grenada and its effects on citizens. The most direct consequence of gun-related violence is disabilities or death. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, the sense is not sensing. The sense not sensing, the Firearms Act not even acting. The government haven't been governing, and the forces responsible for preventing the illegal possession of firearms have not been enforcing. My colleagues and I would really like to know, what has the government been doing to prevent the increase of illegal possession of firearms? They clearly haven't been proactive. However, they are sitting here at this 99.9 hour trying to be reactive. Mr. Speaker, let's ask ourselves, what would cause our citizens, especially our youths, to use firearms? There are many, but I'll list a few. Lack of education on conflict management from an early age. Lack of education on consequences of the possession and use of illegal firearms. Peer pressure. My friends say, come, let's go and shoot that person because I have beef with that person, so I'm going to join my friends to go and shoot that person. But then who do you think goes to jail? I'm going to go to jail because my friend ran away and leave me alone. Lack of effective and diverse sporting activities to help keep our youths busy and help them develop. Poverty, Mr. Speaker, poverty. Sometimes creeks and water we have to eat to go and sleep. Unemployment, well, this one, they say you're on the decrease, but yet for all, you have to be home and look at the sky and wonder and just pray, God, when am I going to get a job? And the government's failure to provide effective resources and train persons who would do their jobs correctly. Let's start holding the government accountable for their failure to enact stiffer penalties to persons who would break the law, even if it's the big businessmen or government officials. We can ask the government to get political license, Mr. Speaker. So when they fail, we can take away their license and charge them for what they did.
Honorable member, your time is up. I would be gracious to ask you how much time do you think you would need to complete your speech?
Mr. Speaker, can I have a minute to complete, please?
You will have 40 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it. They clearly haven't been doing their jobs. Otherwise, we would not be sitting here listening to ideas that should have been passed a long time ago. Mr. Speaker, it's often said, and I quote, sorry, Mr. Speaker, permission to quote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it's often said, and I quote, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. It's time that our honorable members on the other side start walking the walk instead of only talking the talk. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I suggest that the government investigate and sift out the staff at the port and other enforcers who are failing to enforce the law before putting any new measures in place. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Representative for St. Andrew Southeast. Are there any other contributions to the motion?
Good morning to you, Mr. Speaker.
I have not yet acknowledged you. Honorable Brianna Primus from Carriacou and Petit Martinique, Minister of Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs. You may proceed.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for allowing me to present on this motion. Today, I stand before you as a Minister for Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs to address a pressing issue that affects our society, gun violence. It is a matter of great concern, not just for our nation, but for the world as a whole. The devastating consequences of gun violence have left many lives shattered, communities torn apart, and futures destroyed. It is our duty as responsible citizens and leaders to address this issue head-on and work towards a safer and more peaceful society. Mr. Speaker, gun violence is a complex problem that requires a multi-phase approach. We must tackle it from various angles, including prevention, education, and law enforcement. Prevention starts with addressing the root causes of violence, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunities. By investing in social programs, job creation, and education, we can provide our youth with alternatives to violence and empower them to make positive choices. Mr. Speaker, education is another crucial aspect of combating gun violence. We must educate our youth about the dangers and consequences of gun violence by promoting conflict resolution, empathy, and respect for life. We can instill values that discourage resorting to gun violence as a means of resolving conflicts. We must also engage with parents, teachers, and community leaders to create a supportive environment that fosters positive behavior and discourages the glorification of violence. Mr. Speaker, law enforcement play a vital role in curbing gun violence. We must ensure that our law enforcement agencies are well equipped, trained, and supported to effectively enforce gun control laws. Strengthening background checks, implementing stricter regulations to the purchase and possession of firearms, and cracking down on illegal firearm trafficking are essential steps towards reducing gun violence. We must also work towards improving intelligence gathering and sharing to improve illegal firearms from entering into our communities. Mr. Speaker, in regards to the law enforcement to gun violence, what can be done to help improve the borders of Carriacou and Petit Martinique is to strengthen the soft borders that we have. Training and resources will be enhanced to borders control officers to prevent the smuggling of firearms into the islands. This can include providing them with specialized training on identifying the perception of illegal firearms, as well as equipping them with advanced technology for effective detection. Surveillance systems such as cameras, radar systems, and drones can be positioned to monitor the borders and coastal areas for the illegal activities related to firearms, which can help in the early detection and prevention of smuggling attempts. Mr. Speaker, let us not forget that addressing gun violence requires a collective effort. It is not just the responsibility of the government or law enforcement agencies. Each and every one of us has to play a role. We must encourage a culture of reporting suspicious activities, promoting community engagement, and supporting victims of gun violence. By standing together, we can create a society where the safety and well-being of our society are prioritized. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, gun violence is a grave issue that demands our immediate attention. As the Minister for Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs, I pledge to work tirelessly to address this issue and make our communities safer. Let us join hands, young and old, to create a future free from fear of gun violence. Together, we can build a society where our youth can grow, thrive, and fulfill their potential without the threats of gun. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Brianna Primus, Minister for Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs. Are there any other contributions? Honorable Lindsay Franklin, Minister of Education, Youth Development and Sport.
It is with great honor and privilege that I stand here today to deliberate on a resolution put forward in this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, gun violence has been booming within our nation, and it has started to engrave itself deeply, especially within our youths today. This sudden increase of such violence may affect us greatly if we do not put measures in place to prevent violence and keep our community safe. Mr. Speaker, there are many guns within our nation today, be it licensed or unlicensed guns. And these guns are mostly being used for criminal-based activities, which leads to such violence. These guns are then acquired by youths illegally who are either gang-affiliated or school dropouts. Due to the new trendy music, which contains and initiates a sense of badness, as we may say, youths are engaging and aspiring to live out such lyrics being sung. As a well-known dancehall artist who goes by the name of K-Man says, permission to quote, Mr. Speaker.
Permission granted throughout your speech.
Draco badness, we go for them. End of quote. Youths believe that's the best route to go. Violence, drugs, and badness. As a famous writer, Jose Rizal says, the youth is a hope of our future. Do we really want our future tomorrows being violently inclined? I am sure not. Mr. Speaker, this is why we need to treat this infestation rapidly. Mr. Speaker, the foundation of a person starts at school. This is why checking the mental health of persons at schools should be at the utmost forefront of our agenda to make a change. Mr. Speaker, having active counselors checking and giving diagnosis would help ensure our youths are mentally stable. Mr. Speaker, we would also be investing fundings for crime prevention programs. Allocating resources to initiatives targeting crime prevention, specifically gun violence, can support community outreach, conflict resolution, and intervention efforts. These programs will help educate and help occupy the hands of the youths, preventing them from being idle and getting themselves involved in any criminal-like activities that may lead to gun violence. It can also help identify and address underlying issues that may contribute to future gun violence acts. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, creating safe storage requirements would help prevent the infestation. Enforcing laws that require firearms to be securely stored can prevent unauthorized access and reduce incidents of gun theft. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, poverty is one of the key sources and motivator that contributes to gun violence. Mr. Speaker, youths who are unemployed tend to get themselves involved in illegal activities to make money. Developing jobs to help boost their income would greatly decrease the need to involve themselves in such activities. Therefore, creating a program that ensures youths are not idle and are getting money would help prevent such incidents of gun violence. Mr. Speaker, we would also put an assault weapon ban. Restricting access to assault weapons and high-capacity magazines can help reduce the potential for mass gun violence. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we would launch educational awareness campaigns. By doing so, we would be educating the public about responsible gun ownership, safe storage practices, and the dangers of gun violence can help reduce accidents and misuse. Mr. Speaker, let me ask you a thought-provoking question. Mr. Speaker, imagine you are at Parliament and you hear your son or daughter or any family member of yours get shot by a stray bullet. What would you do? How would you feel? Mr. Speaker, this is why these preventative methods put forward should be implemented and taken.
Honorable Member, I thought you were expecting a response from me. I would have loved to respond to that. But please proceed with your speech.
Mr. Speaker, this is why these preventative methods put forward should be implemented and taken into consideration. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lindsay Franklin, Minister for Education, Youth Development and Sports. Are there any other contributions to the motion? Honorable Vanessa Peters, Member for St. Andrew North East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Permission to quote throughout my speech. Mr. Speaker, I'm seeking permission to quote throughout my speech.
Permission granted throughout your speech.
Thank you. Be it therefore resolved that the Government of Grenada urgently implement proactive measures to prevent gun violence and to ensure safe communities. Resolution acknowledged. Mr. Speaker, those words may sound familiar. Honorable members, ever conscious of God, we aspire, build, and advance as one people. Mr. Speaker, we plead with the leading administration to redirect the energy. I believe that it is a pressing issue, therefore it should be discussed, and the relevant solutions should be proposed. Mr. Speaker, because of the lack of the proactive measures that should have been put in place decades ago, we are now forced to deal with a rise in violence among our nation's youths, a growing number of suicidal-related deaths. Mr. Speaker, violence against women. The high unemployment rate, just to name a few pressing issues, not forgetting the current administration's decision to turn a blind eye on the cries for help from our nation's youths. Honorable members, to every action there is an equal reaction. Honorable member mentioned neglection. Mr. Speaker, the only neglection that I am aware of is a neglect that we have been facing from our current administration in regards to them failing to de-escalate several concerns and regards to the pending resolution. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, it is time to put solid foundations in place. It is time to actually fix the issues that we have and not just offer temporary solutions. Yes, there is a need to have proactive measures in place to prevent gun violence and to ensure communities are actually safe. But, Mr. Speaker, isn't it time to get to the source of the pending resolution and to any other more pressing issues that we have? If you ask me, this resolution being brought forward is very sensational. Mr. Speaker, research on an article presented by one of the world's leading news platforms, the BBC News, states, and I quote, "Even with or after government's effort to have the proactive measures in place to prevent or limit gun violence, there are still numerous persons who not only have access to, but is constantly causing serious issues and injuries, if not deaths, due to the possession of firearms that has been illegally bought into the countries." Mr. Speaker, we have measures in place to prevent such. The last time I checked, why is it still being smuggled in our country? What is placed to prevent this from happening? Mr. Speaker, even our local news platforms would have reported 2 back-to-back shootings within a week. Just recently in Trinidad and Tobago, it was reported that while a family was asleep, Mr. Speaker, imagine you go to sleep, not attempting to cause any issues with anyone, you're attempting to sleep. They invaded the home, shooting, injuring, killing a two-year-old child. Mr. Speaker, a family is mourning the loss of a beloved daughter. As innocent as the child was, as much as numerous security measures was put in place, that still did not, and it still isn't preventing anything from happening. It's not preventing the tragedies from occurring. This isn't just a regional issue, it's a global issue. We need to de-escalate it before it becomes a norm in Grenada. We need to ensure that things are actually being done, honorable members. Do I need to remind the current administration of the oath that was taken when they were sworn into office? I think not. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, are we now ignoring the fact that persons are now in constant fear of their children's protection or safety? How is this helping to ensure communities are safe if people are constantly living in fear? Mr. Speaker, there are already measures in place to ensure that individuals obtain firearms legally. However, there are still reports of cases where persons possessing legal firearms are found guilty of committing crimes using the licensed gun. Mr. Speaker, what can we do then? The issue is clearly not having the correct measures in place to prevent such casualties, but it is due to the policymakers' failure to address the social and economic inequalities that are the root cause of gun violence and impact on the impacted communities. We face corruption in high authorities. We have persons appointed to protect and to serve. There is corruption. The very same persons, Mr. Speaker, are aiding in having the illegal firearms being bought into the country. Where is the protection then? What measures are being put in place to prevent such casualties? Mr. Speaker, honorable members, research according to the EFSGV, that is the Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence, it shows that the
Honorable member, before you proceed, I would like to encourage you to ensure that all your statements have factual basis before any legal implications occur. So please, when you're making such statements, ensure that you are well equipped to back them up.
No problem, Mr. Speaker. I actually have my facts readily available for anyone who is willing to question them. In accordance to the EFSGV, that is the Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence, it shows that the root cause of gun violence includes, and I quote, income inequality, poverty, underfunded public and private housing, under-resourced public services, underperformance in schools, a lack of opportunity and perceptions of hopelessness, easy access to firearms by high-risk people, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that the resolution being brought forward would have positive impacts on one's mental health. But why not put harsher penalties in place? Why not make it illegal for persons, with the exception of the police and the relevant authorities, to even possess them? Why not redirect the emphasis on ensuring that things are done to make it impossible for youths to be idle on the streets? Honorable members, we already have the RGPF in place to protect and to serve. We already have various measures in place that is meant not
Honorable member, your time has ended.
Mr. Speaker, can I have a minute to close my speech?
You have been granted 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, we already have the RGPF in place. I can recommend having a passionate person appointed, actually someone who can connect with the youth, someone who can actually be in the field and understand that the cries for help is being heard. Help them to be a little bit more open, trustworthy. Honorable members, I would like to end, and in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to share this quote as a means of inspiration to the honorable members of government. And I quote, "The Youth Initiative and the Youth Parliament is an excellent one as it's in showcasing the possible future leaders of our countries. In addition, the topic gun violence is most appropriate as it deals with a topic that has a lot of impact on the peace and stability of our country." A quote by Dr. the Right Honorable Kit Mitchell, end of quote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Member for St. Andrew North East. Are there any other contributions to the motion? Honorable Jahim Franklin, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Culture and the Arts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand before you today to discuss a topic of great importance, not only to the residents of our beloved Grenada, but also to our visitors and the international community at large. Our topic today revolves around the urgent call for proactive measures to prevent gun violence and ensure safe communities in Grenada. As Minister with responsibility for tourism, civil aviation, culture, and the arts, I will highlight how gun violence affects my ministry and by extension our economy, as well as put forward much needed suggestions of solutions for these issues. Gun violence, a plague that has swept across the globe, is a threat that we cannot afford to ignore. It is a menace that disrupts the peace and tranquility of our communities, shatters families, and deters potential visitors. In the 20th century, Mr. Speaker, tourism became one of the main economic sectors, and similar trends have continued in the 21st century. It continues to grow regardless of negative circumstances in the world, such as instability of the financial markets, energy crises, and armed conflicts. Tourism has a positive economic impact on the balance sheet, employment, gross income, and production, so the share of tourism in the global GDP was 10.4% in 2017. As stated by the World Travel and Tourism Council in 2018, permission to quote, Mr. Speaker?
Permission granted.
Thank you, and I quote, "Tourism is directly or indirectly connected with over 313 million jobs, or 4.2% of all jobs in the world, unquote. For some developing countries, such as Grenada, tourism is the main driver of economic growth and development as it stimulates new economic activity, and the consumption of foreign tourists in many countries represents some kind of alternative form of export, contributing to the improvement of balance of payments through foreign exchange earnings. Mr. Speaker, our country, known for its lush landscapes, sandy beaches, and warm people, relies heavily on the tourism sector, as it is the lifeblood of our economy, and it is our duty to protect it from potential threats. Among these threats is the specter of gun violence, which presents a significant risk to the health and prosperity of our tourism industry. Mr. Speaker, tourists are drawn to Grenada for its beauty and peace. However, fear of gun violence can deter potential visitors, leading to a decline in tourist arrivals, reduced foreign exchange earnings, and loss of jobs in the tourism sector. A single incident of gun violence can have lasting repercussions, painting a negative image of our paradise island that is hard to erase from the minds of potential visitors. Mr. Speaker, let's take a look at an incident that recently happened in the neighboring island of Trinidad and Tobago, as the dear Honorable Member for St. George Northeast mentioned in her presentation. The Peterkin family was asleep in their home in the Trinidad and Tobago village of Heights of Guanapo on September 21, 2023, when gunmen unloaded weapons, including an assault rifle, on the family of 9. The brazen crime, now known as the Guanapo murders, killed 4 of the Peterkin's children, including a 10-year-old girl, and wounded the other 5, shocking a nation already indignant about soaring gun violence. Less than a month later, the Trinidad police announced the country's largest ever seizure of weapons, including high-powered submachine guns, fueling concerns about the growing prevalence of assault rifles in the Caribbean nation. Mr. Speaker, in their homes, their own homes, the place where they are supposed to feel the most secure and comfortable, shot, injured, killed. I don't know about you, Mr. Speaker, but after coming across this bit of information, I don't feel I want to travel to Trinidad, because if its own citizens getting shoot up in their own homes, who is we? As tourists, who is we? Mr. Speaker, to safeguard our tourism industry, unlike Trinidad, and the livelihoods that depend on it, I propose that my government implement said proactive measures to prevent gun violence. These measures will include comprehensive legislation to control the availability of and use of firearms, stiff penalties for illegal possession and misuse of weapons, and community awareness programs about the dangers of gun violence. Moreover, we will invest in our law enforcement, providing them with the necessary resources and training to effectively combat gun violence. We also plan on fostering partnerships between communities, law enforcement, and other stakeholders to create a united front against gun violence. Furthermore, we plan on implementing numerous checkpoints at our ports and docks around the islands so as to prevent the smuggling of firearms into our nation. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, addressing gun violence is not just about creating safe communities for our residents. It is about protecting our tourism sector and, by extension, our economy. It is about ensuring that Grenada continues to be a paradise for both its residents and its visitors. So, let us all resolve that we as a government implement said proactive measures to prevent gun violence and so as to ensure safe communities in our beautiful island of Grenada, for the sake of our future and the sake of our children's future. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jaime Franklin, Minister of Tourism, Civilization, Culture, and the Arts. Are there any other contributions? Member for St. Andrews Southwest, Phanisha Stafford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am very disappointed to be debating on this important matter on gun violence. I am here shadowing for the constituency of Karakou and Petit Martinique, so permit me to do so. I would like to say a hearty hello to the people of Karakou and Petit Martinique. This topic brings many concerns to us, where we are the cradle for peace and togetherness. Mr. Speaker, today I am here given the task to oppose this resolution clearly and precisely, in which I would thoroughly explain and give reasons why these proactive measures should not be implemented. Mr. Speaker, this government believes that implementing the stricter gun control measures can help reduce the availability of firearms in the hands of criminals and potentially prevent tragic incidents. But, Mr. Speaker, the Gun Control Act, Part 4, Subsection 1 clearly highlights, no person shall not be in possession of any firearm or ammunition except under the Act in accordance with the terms and conditions of a firearms user license. Mr. Speaker, criminals are called criminals for a reason. They don't follow rules. What guarantee is there saying that these measures would be abided by? Mr. Speaker, I am concerned about the challenges that comes with this resolution in effectively implementing such measures. Firstly, because of the limited capacity of the Government of Grenada, this refers to the resources, the infrastructure, and the manpower, Mr. Speaker. That is available to carry out such responsibility. This means the difficulties in effective regulation of ownership, acquisition, and or use of the arms. By doing this, it means the country should have a well-oiled, functioning criminal justice system to ensure the effective enforcement of the measures that are put in place under the Gun Control Act. Mr. Speaker, however, the limited resources, the fundings, the constraints may hinder the government's availability to allocate sufficient resources to tackle this gun control. This leads to the limited trust in the authorities, where the citizens would rather take matters into their own hands. The law enforcement are seen as a joke on the island of Karakou and Petit Martinique because of the inefficient works in the past and presently. For instance, how many Coast Guards are there on the island of Karakou and Petit Martinique? Sad. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the other side needs to focus on the criminals, not the law-abiding citizens. Many argue that stricter gun control measures will primarily affect the law-abiding citizens, while the criminal still find ways to access these firearms illegally. It advocates focusing on addressing the root causes of the crime and targeting criminals rather than restricting the gun ownerships for all citizens. This would cause the illegal circulations of firearms. And Mr. Speaker, Part 2, Subsection 8 clearly states that no person shall not be held to import any firearm or ammunition by reason that such firearm or ammunition is in his or her own possession. But yet, they are entering the island. Mr. Speaker, something in the mortar beside the pestle, somebody not doing their work. Mr. Speaker, the other side needs to focus on properly getting the country intact before addressing something they still cannot fix with these proactive measures. Mr. Speaker, one of our very own people who I personally knew, he went to Spice Mass for Carnival for enjoyment and was brutally shot and killed on the spot. Is there justification for this? Stop digging deeper holes to bury the people and try fixing the holes that we have already. Mr. Speaker, the point that we should all be worried about is the tourism and security concerns for our country. Grenada relies fully on the tourism sector, And if something is not done and crime keeps increasing, we are all in shambles. The revenues will be lost, Mr. Speaker. Nobody would want to visit these islands. Mr. Speaker, take a look at Trinidad and Tobago. People, well, me, I am afraid, and people are afraid to even enter the borders. Is this how we want to be? I thank you.
Thank you very much, member for St. Andrews Southwest, Phanisha Stafford. I want to extend my deepest condolences for the death of that individual you would have known. And, you know, I am pleased that you're here to represent Carriacou and Petit Martinique on our beautiful island. At this time, we would like any other contribution? Minister of Social Development and Housing, Kalita Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, gun violence in the Caribbean is not a new issue. However, gun violence in Grenada used to be a rare occurrence. Nowadays, the rate of gun violence has risen significantly, and soon our little island in the sun won't be so safe anymore. Mr. Speaker, imagine the little corner that you and your friends grew up on, playing cricket and other games, is now littered with bullet holes, blood, spent shells, and the distant cry of another life lost to gun violence. How would you feel knowing that future generations will never know what it was like to be outside and play without fearing for their lives? I stand here today as the Minister of Social Development and Housing, showing my full support for the resolution. This resolution, which calls for urgent and proactive measures by the Government of Grenada to prevent gun violence and ensure safe communities, is not merely a policy proposal. It is a call to action to safeguard the well-being of the people and the future of our country. To tackle this issue, we must first acknowledge the root causes. The connection between poverty, the lack of education, and crime is well documented. Mr. Speaker, as the Minister for Social Development, I am aware of the correlation between social inequality and the prevalence of gun violence. Hence, I believe that we must be multifaceted in our approach by not only tackling symptoms, but also the underlying issues. The commencement of a strategy must include rehabilitating those who have been prey to the lure of gun violence. Rehabilitation programs, counseling services, and mentorship initiatives can help persons break the cycle of violence and reintegrate them back into society. For those who are thinking of buying a gun to look cool or for protection, as they would say, we can offer a scholarship to NULO where they can learn skills and make something of themselves. Or we can offer them job opportunities that can keep them busy and away from the streets and the gangs that will most likely recruit them. We can also have meetings with them and the police who can show them how uncool having a firearm really is and the negative effects it has on them, their family, and society. However, social development alone cannot fully address this pressing issue. We must enhance our law enforcement capabilities by both investing in technology and...
Honorable member, just please hold a while. Members on the other side, I would like you to conduct yourself in a manner that is appropriate in this house. The member is speaking and you're speaking over her. Please avoid that. Thank you.
We must also explore innovative approaches to gun control. This includes community-based initiatives that encourage responsible firearm ownership. By engaging the community and fostering a sense of collective responsibility, we can create an environment where individuals feel safe enough to report illegal firearms and discourage their use within the community. Mr. Speaker, with this being said, we cannot forget the loved ones of those who died because of this senseless act. For how can we, who call ourselves a compassionate society, ignore the ones who suffer the most from this issue? Shouldn't we commit ourselves to social development that also addresses the deep-rooted impacts of gun violence? As the Minister for Social Development and Housing, recognizing the profound and lasting impact of gun violence on victims and their families is paramount. Our commitment extends beyond acknowledgement. We aim to implement comprehensive support programs. These initiatives will not only prioritize immediate assistance, but also focus on long-term healing. In collaboration with mental health professionals, we will develop counseling services tailored to address the unique challenges faced by those affected. Rehabilitation programs will be established to foster resilience and empower individuals to rebuild their lives. The holistic approach seeks to provide solace and support and ensuring that the trauma inflicted by gun violence doesn't define the future of our citizens. Furthermore, we will actively engage with community organizations, leveraging their expertise to create a network of assistance that extends beyond the government initiatives. By fostering collaboration, we aspire to build a society where victims and their families can access a continuum of care, reinforcing the bonds that make our communities resilient in the face of adversity. Lastly, our strategy must include a strong emphasis on community policing. Building trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve is vital. Community policing not only allows collaboration in crime prevention, but also helps dismantle barriers that often hinder effective communication between the citizens and authorities. In conclusion, the resolution before us is not just a call to action. It is a plea for preservation of our way of life, our values, and the safety of our people. Our government must act urgently and decisively to implement proactive measures that address the root causes of gun violence. As Minister for Social Development and Housing, I stand firm in my commitment to returning Grenada to the beautiful and peaceful country it once was. Let us come together to forge a path towards a safer and more prosperous Grenada. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister for Social Development and Housing, and I will join you in ensuring that Grenada remains a safe place. At this time, any more contributions? Honorable Member for South St. George, Tariq Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I begin, I am proud that our Minister of Tourism, through you, Mr. Speaker, he dressed decently as opposed to the one that continuously flings his tie over his shoulder. At least he knows how to dress decent in the House of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, before I go into my speech, I would just like to pose a few questions. What's the cause? When would it happen? Where would it take place? And who is next? Mr. Speaker, as Shadow Minister for Tourism, Culture and the Arts, I stand before you on this resolution that calls for urgent measures to prevent gun violence and to ensure safer communities within the state of Grenada. While I understand the concern raised, we must approach this issue with caution and consider alternative solutions that addresses the root cause of the problem rather than merely focusing on reactive measures. Mr. Speaker, in all the deliberations on the government side, They stated some measures, but no time frame. So I'm wondering when, how, 10 years, 5 years, a decade, a century, when they dead, which? Mr. Speaker, gun violence and gun-related crimes undoubtedly pose a serious threat to public health, safety, and security. However, tackling these issues require a comprehensive and holistic approach rather than hastily implementing reactive measures. We need to unload the guns and reload our minds. Firstly, let us not forget that we have existing laws that are in place with regulations that manage and control firearms. The problem does not is not solely in the lack of the legislation that we have, but it deals with the effective enforcement. Mr. Speaker, instead of us rushing into new measures, we should focus our efforts on strengthening the enforcement mechanism and ensuring that our existing laws are effectively implemented. We must acknowledge that the tourism industry, upon which our economy heavily relies, cannot flourish in an environment plagued by insecurities. Visitors will only be drawn to our beautiful shores if they feel safe and secure during their stay. Mr. Speaker, we are known throughout the Caribbean as one that we are the most peaceful in nature in relation to our security. And I do not want us to reach that stage where that persons have to be second guessing when coming to Grenada. Mr. Speaker, let us fly planes in reducing crime and not fly plane for flying plane's sake. Mr. Speaker, we owe it to ourselves, our visitors, and future generations to provide an atmosphere of tranquility and security. Mr. Speaker, it is crucial to address the root causes of gun violence, and I am happy to hear the Minister of Social Development speaking on the issue of families, because families play a crucial role in the upbringing of individuals throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And once we lose grip of families within the state of Grenada, then after we will continue on the path in relation to gun violence. We must invest in social programs and initiatives that aim to tackle poverty, unemployment, and inequality by creating alternative paths from the lifestyle of crime and violence. Furthermore, let us not forget the vital role in which tourism plays, as I said before. By implementing reactive measures solely focused on gun violence prevention, we risk deterring tourists and stifling the artistic expression that is deeply ingrained in our culture. We must strike a delicate balance between ensuring public safety and preserving the essence of what makes us Grenadian. Mr. Speaker, in relation to gun violence or gun crimes, I will propose the following that we take the following measures. As to oppose of just studying solely on gun violence, they should, as the government, take decisive actions in implementing other measures rather than solely studying gun violence. One, enhancing the security protocols in our country, promoting community engagement and education, and encouraging responsible gun ownership and training. Reducing gun violence from a tourism standpoint, once again, requires a balanced approach. Stricter gun measures such as a comprehensive background checks, licensing and registration procedures, the buyback program can potentially enhance public safety by reducing the availability of firearms. And also, I will encourage that the government take the approach of having a gun amnesty, just as how they have tax amnesty, to assist with persons basically assisting the police in ensuring that guns on the streets are basically brought within the reach of the state so as to take out the amount of gun that will be within the society in which we live. In conclusion, while I acknowledge the gravity of gun violence and the impacts on our communities, I believe that the resolution approach is limited in its scope. To effectively address the issue, we must emphasize a comprehensive approach focusing on enforcement of the existing legislation, addressing the root causes of crime, fostering regional collaboration, and preserving the social fabric of our nation. By doing so, we can work towards creating a safer and more prosperous Grenada for its citizens. O government, hear our plea. In the land of sun and gentle breeze, consider the lives lost, the pain endured. Let us unite against gun violence. Ensure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, member for South St. George. I would just like to say that in my house, when you sit before me as Speaker of the House, you must know how to dress and conduct yourself. So I know you spoke about other ministers and how they dress, but when you sit in this house, I will ensure to upkeep the integrity of this house. At this time, we will hear finally from the Prime Minister, who is via Zoom. Prime Minister and Minister of National Security. Okay. On her behalf, we would have the Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Culture, and the Arts, Mr. Jaim Franklin.
Wrapping up. Remember to talk on the adjournment and be careful.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, after sitting and listening to the opposition's presentations and deliberations, all I could have done is sit there and shake my head. Because they were just rambling, like they didn't even show what they're talking about. They were all over the place. So let me dive into what was said. Mr. Speaker, the opposition leader stated that we should implement the proactive measures immediately instead of wasting time deliberating on the resolution at hand. Are we a dictatorship, Mr. Speaker? I really thought we were a democracy, a democratic nation. It's like the opposition leader wanted us to just implement the proposed measures instead of deliberating it with them so they could go and cry crocodile tears on news outlets and bomb their gums and say, we never consulted with them. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member for St. Andrews South East stated that these measures should have been implemented a long time ago. I don't know which planet she was on, but Mr. Speaker, we just got into office. How could we have implemented these measures donkey years ago when we just got elected? Her quarrel is with the administration that was in power at that time and not with this administration. So I plead with her to take her complaints where they should be or properly place her complaints. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member also stated that there is no procedure to legally obtain firearms while her colleague said otherwise. Mr. Speaker, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Are they even on the same side at this point? Because there were numerous contradictions between their speeches. So let me clear the air, Mr. Speaker. There is a procedure to legally obtain a firearm. And for the benefit of those honourable members, I would just briefly state them. To apply for a firearms license, you will need to collect and complete an application form, which is available at all police headquarters. All police headquarters. Then you have to submit the completed form along with your 3 passport-sized photographs, and your application will be vetted and a notification will be sent to you informing whether your application has been approved or not. Moving on, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member for St. Andrews Southwest stated that she is disappointed to debate on such an important topic. Mr. Speaker, if she is so disappointed, I'm confused as to why she is here, because if the topic is important, why is she disappointed? It seemed that she may have been forced to come and debate here today. And it also seems, Mr. Speaker, that we need to provide the opposition with some hearing aids, because it seems like they're not hearing what we've said, what we've identified. They only sit down there to listen, not listen. They only sit down to respond. Hearing to respond and not listening to the measures that we said are going to be implemented. As I close, Mr. Speaker, these measures brought forward today is not only measures for today, but measures for years to come. Mr. Speaker, we are implementing these measures to identify and combat the problem instead of just sitting on our hands. We are being a proactive government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Culture and the Arts, Mr. Honorable Jaime Franklin. Honorable members, the question is that the following motion be agreed. Whereas gun violence and gun-related crime constitutes a grave public concern that affects the public health, safety, and security of people throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Whereas the gun killing of March 21st, 2023 has prompted widespread discussion, especially taking into account the situation in a few of the Caribbean territories that are affected from the scourge of crime. And whereas, in recent weeks, guns and ammunition were discovered after searches were conducted by customs and police officers at the main St. George's port, in addition to police confiscating several illegal firearms as part of a drug bust operation and search warrants. And whereas, gun violence presents a clear and present danger to the general public. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Government of Grenada urgently implement proactive measures to prevent gun violence and ensure safe communities. As many as are of the opinion say aye.
Aye.
Those to the contrary opinion say nay.
Nay.
I'm going to repeat because I don't think I would have heard clearly. As many as are of the opinion say aye.
Aye.
Those on the contrary say nay.
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 The ayes have it. The ayes do have it. At this time, we would like to introduce the Honorable Kate Lewis to make some brief remarks before we end today's sitting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to everyone, all those viewing and listening via the different platforms. But a special good morning to all of you NNP youth parliamentarians, and let me give yourselves a big round of applause. You represented the future of this country very well, and we feel very proud of you. We recognize that even though we are in opposition, we do have a responsibility to you, the young people of our country. And that is why this opportunity was created, giving you the platform where you can share your ideas, share your views, and on issues of national importance, issues that affects you and that affects every one of us. That issue of gun violence is not going to be a partisan issue, because everyone can be affected if it's not under control. So I'm happy you are given the opportunity to deliberate on it, and I must say that both sides had some very strong points that can be brought forward to the government of the day. So again, we commend you, and let me say thank you very much for committing yourselves to be a part of this Youth Parliament training and session held today. I know the past 6 weeks, 2 months have been challenging for most of you. You did the training via the Zoom platform. Some of you having to come from school, having to do your assignments, some of you having to your work duties as well. But you made the sacrifice to do it, and we feel very proud of you. Thank you very much on behalf of the New National Party. We are indeed proud. Thank you. And so, because of your commitment, wish to award each and every one of you with a participation trophy at this time.
I just want to personally join Honorable Kate Lewis Peters in congratulating everyone. And I think I'm the oldest person in this room here right now. So I just want to say how impressed I was. And if the presentations today reflected the future we have with our young people, I am confident that Grenada will be in great hands. On the government side, we want to recognize Zinzi Noel. She's not here with us because she joined us virtually. She was Prime Minister and Minister for National Security. Lindsay Franklin, representing St. George Northwest, Minister for Education, Youth, and Sports. Well done. Who do you have? St. Mark? Kalita Gay, St. Mark, Minister for Social Development and Housing, well presented. Brianna Primus, Carriacou and P.T. Martinique, Minister for Carriacou and P.T. Martinique Affairs. And ladies and gentlemen, this was her inaugural appearance in this. It's her first time. She did well. Brandon Felix St. John's, Minister for Finance and Economic Development. Well done. And also his first time, and he was excellent. Jaime Franklin, St. George Northeast, Minister for Tourism, Civil Aviation, Culture and Arts. Again, another wonderful delivery. All right, we are now going to deal with the opposition side, and we have Vanessa Peters from St. Andrew Northeast, Member of Parliament for St. George's Northeast. St. Andrew Northeast, sorry. Following, we have Phanisha Stafford, St. Andrew Southwest, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Southwest. Representing Carriacou, another one from Carriacou. We welcome them here today. Hard work that paid off. Trisha Jones Williams, St. Andrew Southeast, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Southeast. Well done, well done. Wanted to give up, but she stuck with it. Tariq Frank, South St. George, Member of Parliament for St. George Northeast. Tariq dressed the part. When he walked in, I thought it was Dr. Keith Mitchell, you know. Okay, Senior Member of Parliament. Then finally, from the opposition side, we have Prince James from the Tongue of St. George, Leader of the Opposition. Almost dressed like Sir Eric Matthew Gary. Assistant Clerk of the Houses of Parliament, Kirby Simpson. Everyone stuck to their duties, executed them excellently. Well done, well done. The clerk, Crystal Theodore. Yes, we had a great clerk here today. And finally, the Speaker of the House, Kareem Salab, who had the House in order. Excellent, excellent. All right. To all the parliamentarians here, we had the monumental task, gave us headache, to select the best debater. And so, everybody was great. I don't think anybody did better than anybody else. I think everybody was, you know, they just did the best they could. And everything was well researched. So on this note, we are going to recognize someone who we thought to award as the best debater. And that individual will receive a prize from Duty Free. It's a cologne set. And we thought to give that prize to Zinzi Noel. She's not here. But I think Zinzi was well researched. And Zinzi, for those of you who don't know her, she has a physical disability, but she was not able to join us here. She joined us virtually. But like we say, had we had the choice, we would give everybody the same thing. So Honorable Kate Lewis would deliver to, yes. And Mr. Franklin is going to Minister for Tourism. Yes. But again, we just want to congratulate everybody. You guys were just excellent. Everybody did the best they could. The speaker, I wondered if we should assign him to give some coaching to some of the speakers that passed through the Houses of Parliament, because he was so on point. So on behalf of the organizing committee for this session today and for this event, The speaker is going to receive a complimentary examination, oral examination, and cleaning from Gentle Dental Care Limited. Okay, so I'm going to let Honorable Kate Lewis have the final words here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Dubois. And of course, all of the people who worked hard to ensure that today's activity was indeed a success. We recognize each and every one. But I also want to make special mention to Mr. Royden Bihari for his tenacity, his hard work, and commitment towards this process. Also to Mr. Clifton Ned, who assisted by facilitating some of the training that we had via Zoom. We recognize him as well. And of course, the team of the new National Party, led by our political leader, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. We say thank you for allowing our young people to have this platform where they can lend a voice to issues of national importance. And those of you who viewed and who listened, we say thank you as well. To our technical team, we do appreciate your hard work. To all those who sponsored something towards this activity, we have lunch from Dana's. We do appreciate everyone who contributed to the success of this activity. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, and rightfully, Parliament has to be rightfully dismissed. As Speaker of this House, I move that this Honorable House be adjourned to a date to be determined. All in agreement, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The ayes do have it. We want to wish everyone a Merry, Merry Christmas. We pray that God will bless you tremendously throughout this season. It's a time to reflect on his birth, that he came to die for us. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the assurance that we shall inherit a heavenly kingdom one day. So at this time, we thank you very much, all viewers. Thank you for being with us. And may God continue to bless you.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.